get there.
Good morning, everybody. Can everyone hear me back there? Great. My name is Bob Chessier. I serve as a member of the Town of Scituate's Historical Society, and I will be the Master of Ceremonies today. On behalf of the town, the Veterans Services Department, the Board of Selectmen, the Veterans Advisory Council, and our distinguished guests, it's an honor to speak with you today and to be the first to welcome you to Scituate's Memorial Day Ceremony 2022. In May of 1868, General John A. Logan, the Commander-in-Chief of the Union Veterans Group known as the Grand Army of the Republic, issued a decree that May 30th should be a nationwide day of commemoration for the more than 620,000 soldiers killed in the recently ended Civil War. On Decoration Day, as it was called then, Americans should lay down flowers and decorate the graves of the war dead, whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. According to legend, Logan chose May 30th because it was a rare day which didn't fall on the anniversary of any Civil War battle. Although some historians think that he chose that date because he wanted to ensure that flowers would be available in full bloom for decoration of the graves of our veterans. I want to begin by introducing the individuals behind me, our town officials. Jim Boudreau, who sometimes hides in the audience. Mr. Anthony Vignani, who's the chair of the Select Board. Mr. Andrew Goodrich, Vice Chair. Maura Curran. Karen Canfield, Select Board. Mrs. Karen Conley, Select Board. And Don Knapp, who's the Director of Veteran Services, is not here because, unfortunately, he has COVID. believe it or not. Mr. Dennis Bador, who was the commander of American Legion Post 144, somewhere. he hides too. Eleanor Grossman, a Korean War veteran and past chaplain of the American Legion, who, by the way, is 92. She's been doing this for quite a while, and we can't thank her enough. Our keynote speaker tonight is Colonel Peter Fiorentino, who is the commander of the 51st Troop Command. Also, Mr. Joseph Kelly, Chair of Veterans Advisory Council and a Gold Star parent. Jada Thalen, who's a senior at Scituate High School. And let's hear it for Jada, huh? Scituate High School trumpeters Ben and Matthew Short, who will play taps with the band. Kelsey Knapp, who's a soloist for the National Anthem. In 1963, the United States Congress designated Gold Star Mother's Day as the last Sunday in September. It was officially expanded to include Gold Star families in 2012. The Gold Star family is a present-day term referencing a family that has paid the ultimate sacrifice in fighting for our nation's freedom. The town would like to acknowledge all of the Gold Star families for their ultimate sacrifice in fighting for our nation's freedom. At this time, I would like to welcome to the podium Chaplain Eleanor Grossman. Chaplain Grossman, will you please lead us in the invocation?
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for your presence with us and ask your blessing on this most solemn occasion. It is with pride and sorrow we honor the men and women of our armed forces. Many of our sons and daughters have touched the face of God. Once again, we honor the memory of those now enrolled in that great Spirit Army, where footfalls cause no sound. Because of them, our lives are free. Memorial Day is also for the families and loved ones not here today, to enjoy the freedom they secured for us. The solemn pride that must be theirs to have laid so costly a sacrifice on the altar of freedom. The power of their spirit lives on. In the silence of this moment, we dedicate ourselves anew and ask God's blessing. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Grossman. Now the Boy Scouts, Troop 7, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Boy Scout Troop 7. We will now have welcoming remarks by Mr. Anthony Vignani, who's the chair of the Select Board.
Thank you very much. Before I get started here, I just want to thank a few people. But first, I want to thank our town's DPW department and all the people that made this common look so beautiful today. I also want to thank the Boy Scouts. A number of the troops put the flags in the cemeteries across town and made those cemeteries look so patriotic and beautiful today also. So everybody that participated in that, thank you very much. Again, want to thank the Veteran Advisory Committee and our town veteran agent for pulling this whole ceremony together. They put a lot of work into this. They hope the weather's good and we got a good day, so I want to thank both of those groups. And I'm going to repeat one. I know Bob just said that Eleanor Grossman is 92 years old. She's been a chaplain for over 30 years for the town and some other towns in the area. So I want to hear a big thank you for her. She's done a great job. Great. So thank you all for attending. Unlike Veterans Day, where we honor everybody that served in the U.S. services, Memorial Day honors those that died while serving in the U.S. forces. And in the past, when I've been up here, I've made a very kind of a patriotic speech and talked about freedom isn't free and we should really be appreciative of all of the benefits that we are able to have because of this. And this year, I just couldn't stop thinking about the gap between the two groups that are observing this holiday. So we've got the one group like me, and probably many of you, that are appreciative every day of the services that we get and aware of the benefits that we have. But there's that other group of people that actually lost a loved one. And this is a completely different day for them, right? It probably is just adds attention to the emptiness that they have. So the second group is the one that I really want to address today. I want to thank families like the Kelly family. Joe Kelly's behind me here. Gold Star family, huge initiative and everything in the town. Thank you so much for all you do. We recently had the Connor family come before us, who are looking to raise almost $1 million to put a memorial in town for a friend and family member that they lost, who's my age, would have been my age, and died when he was in his 20s. And I think about the time, you know, just the gap of things that he lost, and it's just amazing, and it really is heartbreaking for me. So today I'll make it short and sweet. I'm talking to those groups and anybody else that lost a loved one during this. And I've seen posts on Facebook where people that served lost close friends. Number one, I am so sorry for your loss. And I want to thank you for helping build the character of these heroes who are willing to give their life so that all of us can enjoy the benefits of freedom. We can never repay the cost that they paid, and today we just want to honor their bravery and valor. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Now I would like to welcome Jada Thalen, a Scituate High School senior and winner of the American Legion Post 144 District 10 Oratory Scholarship Contest.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here on this historical day. This past year, I have been fostering connections with the American Legion Post 144 members to connect high school students with our local veteran affairs. I have hosted school events to spread awareness of the importance of honoring our veterans not just Memorial Day, but every day. I participated in a speech competition hosted by the American Legion and placed third in the state. But I have to say, the thing that I am most proud of, the thing that gives me purpose in life, and the thing that truly fills my heart is the relationship I have built with Post 144. It is truly a friendship I have never had before. While I was presenting my speech to the judges in the audience during the competition, I looked to see the Post 144 members, my supporters, sitting at their table with their gleaming, proud faces. It brought a feeling to me that brings brightness to the darkest days. Almost unwavering support and love radiating from across the room, giving me confidence, determination for success, and complete purpose for my life to feel honored by the people who hold my highest respect. The brother and sisterhood our veterans have made throughout their time serving has brought them the unparalleled ability to care for people like no other. I find it my personal obligation to make sure their incredible legacies are carried on, not just through words, but through action. The sacrifice you veterans have made is something that words cannot describe. I just hope you know and understand you are changing lives the more you share your stories and spread nothing but love and inspiration onto the world. We cannot say thank you for the sacrifice you have made enough to show full appreciation for it. On this Memorial Day, we honor you and those who cannot stand with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jada, and congratulations. The Gates Intermediate School Band, under the direction of Mr. Greg Lassard, will now play National Anthem by E.E. Bagley. Greg, as always, that was a fantastic job. Thank you to the band for showing up. It's now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Colonel Peter Currantino. The Colonel has been serving in the military for more than 35 years, spending 8 years enlisted before commissioning as a second lieutenant in the field artillery in 1996. He has served in every field artillery assignment, culminating as battalion commander of the 1st Battalion, 101st Field Artillery from 2017 to 2019. He deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom with the 1st Battalion, 102nd Field Artillery, RAOC, assigned to Joint Task Force 134, detainee operations from 2004 to 2005. Colonel Fiorentino's most recent assignment included commander the 151st Regional Support Group and currently serves as the commander of the 51st Troop Command. He holds a master's degree in international relations from Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island, and a master's of strategic studies from the United States Army War College. His decorations include Combat Action Badge, Legion of Merit, Defense Meritorious Service Medal with 4 oak leaf clusters, Army Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Air Force Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Iraqi Campaign Medal, and the Honorable Order of St. Barbara. The Colonel resides in Cumberland, Rhode Island with his family. That's quite a list. Colonel Fiorentino.
I realized vividly how everyone in America had changed, how every life had stopped and has suddenly begun again on a different course. Everything in this world had stopped except war, and we were all men of a new profession, out in a strange night, caring for each other. Although this passage may sound like it refers to September 11th, 2001, actually, Ernie Pyle penned these words over 70 years ago in 1944. His work, titled Brave Men, chronicled the major battles of World War II. The words paint a picture of the fear and confusion felt by the soldiers facing the enemy. Words unspoken as these men faced their destiny. For many, it would be their final heroic act. Ernie Pyle, through his writing, puts us in touch with our patriotism, our pride, and our understanding of who we are and how we came to be a nation. More importantly, these words compel us to remember the cost of bringing America this far, only to realize the price is not yet paid in full. This is what Memorial Day symbolizes, a time Americans take a clear look at both our past and our future, to acknowledge the debt we owe to those men and women who, because they so cherished peace, chose to live as warriors. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "If a man hasn't discovered something he will die for, he isn't fit to live." In 2005, I met a little girl in Iraq. Her name is Miriam. She was 9 years old at the time. She lived in Iraq with her family. When I met this child, she had sustained second-degree burns on the entire upper half of her body because of a simple stove accident at home. Infection had set in, and she was near death when, in the last desperate attempt to save their daughter's life, this Iraqi couple brought her to the camp where I was stationed at the time. In the 9 months that followed, Miriam received the care she so critically needed. She was nursed to a point where she could be transported to the Boston Shriners Hospital, where she and her mother would live as her care continued. When I came home on leave from Iraq in July of 2005, I took my 2 sons, Cameron and Colin, to visit her at Boston Shriners Hospital. They were about her age. Enough time had passed and Miriam was well enough that she was able to enjoy their company. The 3 kids played together in the hospital day room. It didn't matter that they were American and Iraqi by virtue of their birth. The only thing that mattered to them was that they were children and they wanted to play like children do. But that's not the thing that stood out for me that day. As the kids ran around, I distinctly remember Miriam's mother crying. At first I thought maybe the boys were playing too rough, but that wasn't it. When I asked her why she was crying, she said through her interpreter, "In Iraq, little boys wouldn't play like this with my daughter, especially because she's so scarred." Except for few exceptions, in Iraq, men and women have their place, and it isn't side by side, or at least it wasn't. Since then, women have been given the right to vote. They can go to school, they serve in the Iraqi government established after the United States had come to them. They live without fear of tyranny caused by years of dictatorship, and they're learning about the freedoms that have eluded them for generations. Freedom is the most powerful precursor to peace. Freedom, to me, is worth dying for. For more than 250 years, our military has provided a bastion against our enemies. In that time, our world has changed, and our armed forces have changed with it. But the valor, dignity, and courage of the men and women in uniform remain the same. From Valley Forge to Desert Storm, from Korea, Vietnam, and Bosnia to Operations Iraqi Freedom or Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, the fighting spirit of the American soldier punctuates the history of our nation. The founders of this great country understood that the military would be the rampart from which America would guard its freedom. George Washington once stated, "By keeping up in peace a well-regulated and disciplined militia, we shall take the fairest and best method to preserve for a long time to come the happiness, dignity, and independence of our country." The prophecy of those words had been fulfilled time and time again. The cost of that vision, however, has been tremendous. For the periods of peace our country has enjoyed a few. The longest time of complete tranquility for our armed forces was the 23 years between World Wars I and II. Since the Revolutionary War, more than 42 million men and women have served in America's military. More than 666,000 of those dauntless, selfless warriors have died in actual combat operations. But why are we so seemingly willing to fight and, if need be, die? The answer to that question is as simple and yet as complex as the soul of America itself. We fight because we believe, not that war is good, but that it's sometimes necessary. Our soldiers fight and die not for the glory of war, but for the prize of freedom. The words of philosopher John Stuart Mill may say it best. War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of morale and patriotic feeling which thinks nothing is worth war is much worse. A man who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing he cares more about than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature who has no chance of being free. During World War II, when the nurses of Corregidor stayed to tend to the wounded, they knew that facing them was inevitable hardship and possible death. They would be captured, imprisoned, starved, conceivably tortured or killed. Those 77 angels never faltered. No one from General MacArthur down questioned their right to stay behind. They were soldiers. That was the mission. At the end of the war, they were freed from the prison camps, and indeed, many of them had died. They were warriors, and they were heroes. They were also women. On May 2nd, 1968, an Army 12-man Special Forces team was inserted into the jungle of Loc Ninh, Vietnam. They met with heavy resistance from the enemy. 3 times, helicopters attempted to land and bring the team out, but each time they were driven off. A staff sergeant monitoring the operation from the unit's base station volunteered to return with another helicopter and try again. He realized all the team members were wounded or dead, so he jumped from the aircraft to assist the injured. Then the pilot was killed and his helicopter crashed. The staff sergeant called for help. When the next aircraft arrived, the soldier carried the wounded and dead to the helicopter. He was wounded himself over 7 times, but he saved the lives of 8 men that day. His name, Roy Benavides. An Army helicopter crashed in the middle of a dense maze of shacks and shanties in Mogadishu, Somalia. A growing number of enemy troops was closing in on the site where 4 critically wounded soldiers were trapped in the wreckage. Master Sergeant Gary Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randall Shugat volunteered to aid their fallen comrades. Subjected to intense fire from automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades, they fought their way through the narrow streets to the crash site. They stayed and fought until their ammunition was exhausted. After Sergeant Shugat was killed, Master Sergeant Gordon took a rifle from the debris, handed it to the injured pilot, wished him good luck, and continued to fight until he himself was fatally wounded. In 2005, Sergeant Steve Maureen and Airman First Class Jacobson were stationed with me at Camp Buca. We served together, often communicating on the softball field we had built in an effort to promote camaraderie and make all our time together more bearable on a social level. Sergeant Maureen and Airman Jacobson were called to provide routine convoy security to move equipment and personnel. Their trip was one I myself had made at least once a week while I was stationed there. Sergeant Maureen also had made the trek almost daily. But for Airman Jacobson, this was her first. It would also be her last. The 2 were killed when their Humvee was hit by a roadside bomb, an improvised explosive device. Sergeant Maureen had less than 2 months to serve on his tour. Airman Jacobson was just 21 years old and the first female airman and first security forces airman killed in the line of duty in Operation Iraqi Freedom. She had been there only 3 months. On June 8th in that same year, in another part of the world, about 2,000 miles away or so, a young specialist was offloading material, personnel, and supplies on a base in Skin, Afghanistan. The landing zone he was operating in came under intense rocket fire, and Sergeant Michael Kelly, a Scituate native and the son of Karen and Joe, was struck and fatally wounded. I knew Michael personally. When I got the news in Iraq, I was devastated. At one point, prior to his deployment to Afghanistan, I was Michael's commander in the headquarters and headquarters battery, 102nd Field Artillery Regiment. I never forgot our first conversations, and I'll never forget him personally. A young, unassuming, kind, and witty man who any one of us would be proud to have raised. Not far from here is a bridge that spans the North River, which is named for him. I recall during the dedication of this bridge how the area was one of the most scenic, picturesque, and tranquil places in the Commonwealth. I remember thinking, what a fitting place to memorialize Michael Kelly. I believe we can never memorialize our true heroes enough. The stories I told of these courageous men and women, each so different in heritage and background, shared the common bonds of the armed forces: courage, duty, and sacrifice. All of them reached a moment in their lives when race and religion, creed, color, and gender made no difference. What remained was and is the essence of America, the fighting spirit of a proud, valorous people. These are soldiers who paid the ultimate price for freedom. But these soldiers aren't the only ones who have paid the price. Countless families and others who watched their loved ones simply go to work have given more than anyone will ever know. Families have no choice, and yet they endure. They endure because of friends and people in their communities. And the strongest of communities make sure they don't walk alone. I'm one of the lucky ones. I came home. Not a day goes by that I don't recall who I came to know personally, who lost their lives, but more so on days like today. I give full remembrance and thank God that men and women like these existed. I'm deeply honored to have served my country in Iraq and other places for over 35 years in an effort to bring peace and freedom to those places we so take for granted sometimes here. I'm also honored to be standing before you and that you have allowed me to share these stories with you. But there are thousands of stories out there, stories left untold, stories long forgotten. Just walk through any cemetery, you will see hundreds of grave sites belonging to our fallen brethren, whether it's Arlington, Virginia, or Normandy, France, or Cudworth Cemetery about a stone's throw from here. Our soldiers are there, and they have made the ultimate sacrifice. We may not know all their names or their faces, but that doesn't make them any less significant because their time has passed. We will always be bound by our experiences and by our unending love and respect for the ideal that is the United States of America. So as we observe this Memorial Day, we must remind ourselves truly that freedom is not really free at all. The price we pay to do what we want, when we want, and say what we want, to whom we want, comes at a great cost. A cost that our forefathers and military members believed was worth paying, because in the end, our world would be a better place. May God bless America, and enjoy your day.
Thank you, Peter. Now the high school band, under the co-direction of Mr. Jim Thomas and Adam Gruschow, will play America the Beautiful by Carmen Dragon and Jay Dawson. That was fantastic. Thank you, Jim and Adam, and thank you to the band. Now a reading of the names of the Scituate veterans who were passed this year since last Memorial Day. Reading the names today is Mr. Joseph P. Kelly, Chair of the Veterans Advisory Council and a Gold Star parent.
Good afternoon. Edward R. Burso, Vietnam. Bell's not ringing. Jeffrey Todd Jordan, peacetime. Charles F. Field, World War II. John Nelson Beveridge, Korea. Nicholas John Greco, Vietnam. John Kendrick Mills III, Korea. Marshall Joseph Gennaro, peacetime. Robert Irving Blake, Korea. Stephen Joseph Saunders, peacetime. James Edgar Watson, Vietnam. The tower bell should be ringing after every name I read. She's not there yet. Well, it is warm up here. I'll forge ahead. James Edgar Watson, Vietnam. Paul Edwin Harris, peacetime. James Joseph Winters, peacetime. Daniel Dennis Johnson, Vietnam. Samuel Ames Davis, Korea. William George O'Connell, peacetime. Reed Lamar Clayson, Korea. George Cecil Ackley, Jr., Korea. James Richard Duffy, Jr., Vietnam. Joseph Celebresi, World War II. Clarence Kent Walker III, Desert Storm. Jerry L. Tripp, Korea. Frederick H. Abel, Korea. Paul Edward Dennehy, Sr., Vietnam. Walter George Gibson, Jr., Air Force. David A. Caswell, Korea. Robert William Davidson, Korea. Thomas F. McGee, Korea. Kenneth J. Moore, Vietnam. Joseph I. Carter, Vietnam. Joseph Charles Goodrow, peacetime. Thomas William Ryan, Korea. Peter L. Hanlon, Vietnam. John Joseph Dowd, Vietnam. Arthur J. O'Neill, Vietnam. William Thompson Roney, peacetime. Roy W. Forsberg, peacetime. Paul R. McFarland, Vietnam. James S. Carmody, Jr., peacetime. Joseph M. Gately, Korea. Donald M. Freda, Korea. Donald M. Litchfield, Marine. And I'll go over those few that I read. Edward R. Burso, Vietnam. Jeffrey Todd Jordan, peacetime. Charles F. Field, World War II. John Nelson Beveridge, Korea. Nicholas John Greco, Vietnam. John Kenrick Mills III, Korea. Marshall Joseph Gennaro, peacetime. And my son, Sergeant Michael Jason Kelly, Shekin, Afghanistan, enduring freedom. Thank you very much, and have a peaceful day.
Sorry about that. I think we're a little ahead of schedule. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Now our flag ceremony will be conducted by American Legion Post number 144 and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 3169. Taps will be played by Scituate High School band members Ben and Matthew Short. The National Anthem will be performed by soloist Kelsey Knapp, a Scituate High School senior. The National Anthem will now be sung by Kelsey Knapp, Scituate High School senior. Kelsey.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Kelsey, Ben, and Matthew. As we close, I will ask Chaplain Grossman to lead us in the benediction.
Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to unite us in a moment of prayer on this Memorial Day. Let the peace of this place surround us as we stand quietly. It is with heavy hearts we pay tribute to all who made the ultimate sacrifice, so we and future generations may live in freedom. As we wrap our arms around the families of our fallen, grieve with us. With every morning sunrise, remember them in the glory of their spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Grossman. I would like to end by thanking those who made this day's tribute to our veterans possible. Mike Green and his great staff from the Scituate Department of Public Works, who once again worked so hard to maintain all our public grounds. Our police and fire departments for their outstanding work and dedication to our community. Colonel Currantino for his keynote address, the high school and Gates Intermediate School bands for their great job. The Boy Scouts of America, Scout Troop 7, who have volunteered with flag placements. Soloist Kelsey Knapp for the singing of our national anthem. Our Harbor Master Stephen Moan, along with the American Legion Post number 144, with the laying of the wreath at sea to honor the men and women who've lost their lives in the oceans of the world. Also to all the organizations who marched in the parade. Immediately following this ceremony, there'll be a flag ceremony at the Veterans Cemetery on Cudworth Road. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm sure that the veterans appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you.